This is the one with a father who should be a brother.
But we all call him Father for no reason.
And there are Vikings.
And gratuitous Saxons.
And another TARDIS.
Spoiler alert.
And an unnecessary doorway.
We'll get to that.
It's called The Time Meddler.
Here we go.
We're embarking on a voyage all through time and all through space.
Countering Daleks, Stalin, Ood, and the Cybertronic race.
Sontarans look like taters and Silurians all have wonky scales.
And the Doctor has a TARDIS. We're reviewing all his tales.
Who back when?
Reviewing all of who there is.
Who back when? Subscribe and rate on iTunes, please. Episode by episode, we're trudging down this temporal road. Come join us on this odyssey. What other choice could there be than Who back when? Who back when? Hello and welcome to episode C017 of Who Back When, a Doctor Who podcast. I am Ponkin, and joining me today is...
The Rawmeister.
Yes, you are.
If that's the nickname we're sticking with.
Well, as well. It's entirely up to you.
Well, the jackhammer's evolved.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see what happens.
Actually, I wouldn't call him evolved. Anyway. Sorry, Jack.
Revolve.
Anyway, today we are reviewing The Time Meddler, which is a fantastically, canonically important Hartnell episode.
It seemed pivotal.
Yeah.
Pivotable?
Pivotable.
Pivotal.
You were able to pivot it.
Yes.
Yeah, this is what you're trying to say. Either way, hang on. Before we jump into the episode, seriously, Rawmeister, freaking welcome, like, crazy to Who Back When.
Glad to be here.
I'm very glad that you are as well.
I've got some big shoes right now.
I know, he's got really big feet.
Jack does.
Yeah.
You know what they say about men with big shoes? Oh, fuck!
Messed up the joke.
Oh. This is pretty much how it's going to go.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, you're in for a treat. Shall we jump into a bite-sized chunk of Who?
Let's.
Bite-sized chunk of Who.
The Doctor and Vicki discover stowaway Peter Purves aboard the TARDIS. He doesn't believe it's a time machine, so they go back in time to the year 1066.
Ooh. There they encounter a meddling monk who appears oddly comfortable around TARDISes, as well as some Saxon peasants who are very trusting of travellers.
Aren't they just? However, a
hate
buttload...
strangers.
Yeah, exactly.
Weird.
Saxon logic. However, a buttload of Vikings are about to invade England and kick off the Battle of Hastings.
Good thing the Doc and Co are here to let the events run their course.
Thanks, Doc. And that concludes our B-Scout for this week. You are welcome! So we start off episode 1. This is a 4-episode arc, by the way, people, in case you haven't seen this, in which case, wow, welcome to the show. Episode 1, called The Watcher. I believe you had an opinion about the title of this episode, by the way, last night when we watched this.
Well, yeah, I did. I mean, we don't actually see anyone sort of watching as such. More like listening. He's
exactly.
An eavesdropper.
He's not as catchy a title, maybe.
Yeah, he's spying on them via his ears. Eyes, so
he's looking at them with his earballs.
That's what I watch. He's no Rupert Giles.
Maybe it refers to his wristwatch.
Maybe.
The Watcher.
Oh, I didn't
there you go.
That, yeah. Could we just call it the Watch?
Actually, maybe it refers to Vicki, because we start off with Wiki looking at a clock.
Wiki? Wiki looking at a cock? What?
Anyway, so episode 1, The Eavesdropper. We start off inside the TARDIS. Vicki and the Doc, they've obviously just been left by Babs and Sirian. And Vicki is understandably despondent, I think. She's kind of glum and blue because she's now the only companion, but not for long. However, before we are joined by another companion, she is gonna go, I shall miss them. And the Doc goes, who?
Yeah.
Because 16 episodes or 16 serials of travelling around space and time with Babs and Sirian is not enough to cement the memory of them in the Doctor.
He's pretty old, though. Maybe he's losing it.
Maybe that is it. Yeah, maybe that's it. But he's not done, like, just boom, giving a nice fuck you to Ian and Babs, because we're going to go on with that as well. Anyway, so they think they're alone. They hear a sound coming from, like, the living quarters or whatever. They assume it's a Dalek. How do they defend themselves against a potential Dalek, by the way?
With the Doctor's coat.
Yeah.
Effective.
One can only assume that he would throw it onto the Dalek to, like, blind it.
Maybe. Although Vicki was also using the Doc as a human shield before he held up his
oh, that's true.
Shield.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh my god, she's got 2 layers protecting her.
Yeah. Yeah, use the old man as a human shield. That's fine.
Anyway, turns out 'Tis not a Dalek.
Humanoid shield.
A humanoid shield.
There we
Nice.
go.
Oh, there we go. Nailed it. Okay, so it turns out it's not a Dalek. It is, in fact, the Steve Meister from The Chase, the previous serial, which, if you haven't seen it, please do yourselves a favor and watch 3 out of 6 episodes or whatever it was. He has stowed away aboard the TARDIS, crashes out, he's wearing his rags, blah, 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 and now he's going to be treated to the adventure of a lifetime. I can't even remember if this is before or after the Steve Meister appears, but we have a few more FUs to Babs and Ian. Vicky saying that they weren't getting any younger, were they, for example? The Doctor saying, first Susan and now them, even though he abandoned Susan and he abducted them. Like, it's not like he has the moral high ground here.
No.
He can't really martyr himself.
He's a bit of a cunt, really.
He's a total seaward. So, now the Steve Meister is aboard. Steve Meister doesn't believe them when they say that it's a time machine,
We get his glorious wit of... yeah, he's really proud of his IDBI.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, he owns that one, doesn't he? I mean...
The 1965 audience just cheering at the TV.
Yeah.
Go, Peter Purvis.
Yeah.
Anyway, they materialize on a beach. It is Earth. It is, coincidentally, England, as per usual.
And so we get the first appearance of the monk.
Yeah, we do.
Eavesdropping behind a rock and getting bits of rock falling on his head.
Him. He also is atop a cliff watching the TARDIS materialize.
Oh, I missed that bit.
All right. Okay, so when it materializes, he looks down he sees the TARDIS, because, I guess he's on the cliff spying for Vikings.
So then he descales the cliff.
Yeah.
In the space of about 10 seconds,
Yeah,
maybe.
pretty much. But
yeah.
I think he says something like, oh, could it be? It couldn't be, could it?
Yeah.
Something like that. Like, he definitely recognizes what this is, or at least starts to recognize what it is.
Yeah.
And then, sorry, take it away. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Oh, no,
he eavesdrops.
I don't know where I was going. Yeah, with this. Well, yeah, he eavesdrops and gets lots of rock on his head. That's all I was going to say, really.
Because Vicky is explaining what the chameleon circuitry, the cloaking device.
Oh, yes, yeah, we get the explanation of how the TARDIS works, which we've already had in an earlier episode.
Yeah,
right?
in the pilot.
It's a useful catch-up.
It absolutely is. At the time, obviously, like, now with New Who, I kind of know what it is, and I know the lore behind it, but I'd completely forgotten about the whole thing. But in the pilot, I'm pretty sure they say, like, oh, it used to look like a sultan's chair, and it looked like a pillar at one point, or something like that. It's like, it's just broken now.
That's pretty helpful at the time of broadcast, because I imagine a lot of people
missed
the early episodes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like you could, record it on your VCR.
Yeah, exactly.
And they didn't really repeat things, or even keep the original tapes, apparently.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Exactly. So it's very good.
I think you can forgive a bit of repeated exposition.
I think so as well.
Yeah.
I think it's actually sort of not the first necessarily, but it is definitely sort of a hint of the way modern television is structured. Every now and then someone just drops a little hint of, in case you don't know this character already, here you go. Like, here's a synopsis of his persona, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So the monk is eavesdropping, now absolutely knows what it is. They leave screen, they separate. It's the standard trope of let's go our separate ways.
Can't remember why they did that. But,
yeah, exactly, for no reason whatsoever. Doc just goes like, stay here, I'm going to go over there, and then they don't stay, they leave.
Yeah.
So we get 2 tropes in one, companions never staying when they should.
Yeah.
And them splitting up for no reason whatsoever. So they leave screen, the monk goes up and puts his ear to the TARDIS and clearly
presses
recognizes
himself, caressing lovingly the TARDIS.
Starts humping the blue wood.
Yeah. And then goes to check his watch, I guess, which isn't there, so we didn't actually know he had a watch in the first place, but he's looking at his wrist as if he's expecting a watch to be
exactly.
there. So.
Yeah, no, good observation. Like, so maybe this is gonna come into play later on, which, spoiler alert, it totally will.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's press on.
Maybe this episode could have been called The Watch Loser.
The Watch Loser.
Yeah. Someone with a watch isn't just called a watcher.
No, that's true.
The watchman.
Who watches the watch?
Yeah. Not the monk, apparently.
Nope.
Took his eye off that thing for 1 second. Has your watch ever just fallen off your wrist, by the way? Not that either of us seem to wear watches at all, but, those things usually strapped on, that look like a nice sort of chained watch that usually clasp on pretty well.
I reckon it's like really shoddy Gallifreyan workmanship.
Yeah.
Those guys may know time, but they don't know wristbands.
Wristbands.
Wristbands. Oh, by the way, in my notes I've said, the Steve Meister now has had a shave, looks considerably more civilized and less macho than before, and he also has some sort of dialect. what is his accent? Like, where is he from?
I mean...
Because you made a point about this last night.
Well,
I don't really buy it.
Well, I think I was saying that they all speak in, like, weird BBC English for the time, which is, you know, just how everyone used to speak, all the newsreaders, all the actors. They all spoke in this very clipped kind of voice.
Yeah.
And I think this is...
Yeah, but the Doctor speaks like that.
Yeah.
He doesn't necessarily.
Well, I think he's sort of switching between the two a little bit and not really...
It's not like West Country or Welsh or something like that.
No.
Seeping in somehow.
I mean, it's bad acting.
Yeah. Just to summarise it.
Yeah.
Bad acting. Gotta say as well, the chemistry between Vicki and the Steve Meister, super good. Like, they've got some pretty good banter, even though the text, as in the text, the actual script, at times is a little bit shit.
Yeah.
They definitely have more of a rapport than Ian and Babs really ever did, or than Vicki and Ian or Babs.
Their rapport very much seems to focus around him just telling her to shut up and do as she's told.
Yeah, but this is a classic...
ignoring anything she tells him to do.
This is something he has in common with the Doc, apparently.
Which it's of its time.
Yeah, definitely.
Damn it, give Vicky some agency.
Okay, so they've now split up, the wristwatch blah blah is gone, etc, etc. Boom. Fade to stock footage of it getting darker. We've got some seagulls by the sea.
I really enjoed the stock footage.
Very nice stock footage.
Nicely placed.
Yeah.
It really made me feel like I was back in my almost homeland, Cumbria.
Good. I'm glad you had a nostalgic experience as well.
I did.
Good.
Also, my childhood was in black and white, so...
Very authentic.
Yeah.
So,
speaking of black and white, you mentioned there was some excellent...
1965 grey screen technology.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's so convincing.
Yeah.
Now we fade to the Doctor, who is breaking and entering into some hut somewhere. Finds like a rabbit, throws it on the ground. Finds a bow and arrow, throws them on the ground.
Yeah, he does not give a fuck. You just go into someone's hut like that?
No! You don't do this.
More respect for you. Take your shoes off something. Make yourself a home, Doc. I can't just call him a cunt every few seconds.
No, feel free. Anyway, he exits the house and I think quite justifiably is apprehended by the owner of said hut.
Yeah.
Vaudeville style with a Y-shaped stick to the throat. Which I feel is also kind of what we've been referring to as the Terry Nation trope on the show, meaning that any character, in case you're just tuning in, any character can stand right next to something that they would obviously see and not notice it until it is convenient for the plot. Like, he exits the hut, she's clearly there with a fucking stick in her hand, he doesn't notice it until she's got it at his throat.
Yeah, well, anything the camera is not on might as well not exist.
Exactly.
Until,
like it's like a theatrical play.
Yeah.
With cameras. Anyway, so now he's been taken prisoner, but first we get a little cutscene of the monk.
Oh, yeah.
And he's locking the door to the monastery, which clearly is just a modern door repurposed to have like a little whatever, a plank, a lock mechanism. Flicks on a light, it seems, like an electric light, and then all of a sudden, boom, monks are heard chanting.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I think we cut back to the Doc at this point, suddenly being treated to mead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thoroughly enjoying it by the looks of him.
Yeah. With, what's her face? Eldred? No, that's the dude. Yeah, Enid Blyton. So the Doc and Enid Blyton are just sipping meads, having the time of their lives.
Yeah, I mean, this might be some post-coital mead for all that.
How dare you? She's a married woman. In my notes I've said, start the countdown until Doc breaks her heart. Because it totally fits in. Yeah, so now they're talking a little bit. He sort of CSIs her a little bit, gets all these clues as to which year it is. And which year is it?
1066.
No freaking way.
Luck for the episode that it wasn't 1065, because that would have just been awful. I mean,
dragged on forever.
Yeah.
We have to stop the monk quickly. We only have a year to do it in. How long do you reckon the monk's been there, by the way?
Oh, since at least 1064.
Yeah.
It's a slow plan he's got,
Slow burn.
I mean, yeah. We don't really know.
It's a long con.
But we're maybe getting ahead of ourselves.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
We haven't seen his wonderful list yet, so...
Yeah, that's true. Oh my god, I can't wait until we get to the list. So she pops back into the hut to get him, like, a top-up. And all of a sudden we hear, and the Doc hears, the monks chanting in the background kind of dip and warp in a way, like it's a recording where the tape slows down or something.
Yeah.
And he immediately cries out, "Woman! Woman!"
Oh, that was beautiful.
Gorgeous. She comes stumbling out. He asks, blah, blah, how long has he been here? I clearly didn't pay attention. I don't know how long it was.
It doesn't matter.
No one cares. And then he sets off to the monastery.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happens in the meantime?
In the meantime, this is where Vicki and Peter Purvis are hiding behind a bush, and
Yes.
there's a Saxon dude staggering around with a mysterious object.
Yeah, he
in
finds
his
something.
grasp.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Vicky very sensibly tells Peter Purvis not to. So obviously, start calling him
The perv.
Steve. Really,
The perv.
starts calling the perv. She starts telling the perv not to go and attack him, and he listens for approximately 3 seconds before he goes and does it anyway. But
It's like, fuck you, you're a little girl.
Fair play to him. He scares the bejesus out of our Saxon friend and steals what turns out to be a wristwatch.
Yeah, and presumably the wristwatch that the monk had dropped.
I can't think whose else it would be.
Exactly, not many wristwatches around in 1066.
No.
So now he is, perhaps understandably, even more skeptical regarding the nature of their time box or their travelling machine.
Wouldn't you be? I mean...
Yeah, but I would still think, like, it's really weird that there are these Saxon peasants and wristwatches in the same world. I wouldn't go like,
and we forgot they found the Viking helmet.
Oh, yeah.
As well. Which,
Holy shit! Shall we maybe, like, retcon a soundbite from what the doc says there?
I think we should insert that.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Soundbites.
What do you think of that now, eh? A Viking helmet?
Maybe.
What do you mean, maybe? What do you think it is, a space helmet for a cow?
Excellent.
Bingo. Amazing line. Sorry for adding that a little bit too late. Anyway, so now he's mega super duper skeptical, right? Cut to the doctor entering the monastery. This is sort of the end of episode 1.
Yeah.
What happens?
Well, he stumbles across a gramophone.
Yeah.
Which
There are no monks.
The plot thickens, yeah.
And he's imprisoned. All of a sudden, Kablamatron.
All of a sudden, the door shuts down on him, and we get the beautiful, endless laughter of the monk as the credits slowly fade.
Yeah, in a beautiful Scooby-Doo-esque manner.
While the doctor just looks mildly disgruntled.
Did the monk have time to MacGyver some sort of trap, like a booby trap, to protect his gramophone? That doesn't seem likely. Like, he wouldn't add, like, bars that shoot down from the ceiling.
He has time on his hands to do this kind of stuff. I mean, really, how busy is he in this?
I don't know, you've seen his to-do list. He's pretty busy.
Yeah.
He's got 5 points there, whatever it was.
So we get the episode ends with... I'm not going to do it.
No, yeah. That's a fragment of how long it goes on.
Yeah, fade out.
Fade out. Kablamatron, episode 2, The Meddling Monk.
Oh my goodness.
And the monk is busy prepping some breakfast.
Yeah, it's like there's a new domestic situation going on. He seems very kind of happy to be making breakfast. Yeah, so the monk makes the doc a lovely breakfast and gets what I can only assume is a chamber pot in the face. For his troubles.
Thanks, Doc.
Yeah.
Here I am brewing tea and I get a whole pot full of piss in my face. We don't know. Being monochrome, we have no idea. Like, this could be water, tea, piss, this could be literally anything.
Occam's razor. It was the chamber pot.
It was
What would you do?
What would you do? What would you do?
I mean, do you want to stew in your cell with your pot of piss, or do you want to throw it over the guy who's captured you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, you would literally only be drinking tea in order to accumulate more urine, in order to then be able to use it as a projectile against your captor.
Exactly.
Yeah, it stands to reason.
Steve and Vicky, they wake up ambushed by some Saxon dudes and taken back to the village.
Yeah, mega violent, by the way. Like, they capture them with swords and all kinds of shit.
I was scared.
Well, I feared for Vicky's life.
Yeah.
Frankly, I don't care if they take it. Vicky is so freaking annoying. Then we cut to, while they're being taken to the village, I presume, right? We cut to the chick from before, Enid Blyton, and her, like, BFF, some other chick from the village, whom we've never seen before, by the way. The village it consists of one hut, right?
Yeah.
So they're on their way to the monk with, like, a picnic basket.
A picnic basket.
That was literally what I was thinking. A picnic basket. And in my notes, by the way...
the Hanna-Barbera style of talking.
Yeah, totally. In my notes, by the way, check this out. They call him father.
Yeah, what is that about?
Yeah.
He is
a monk.
Monks are brothers, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's true.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But they call him father.
Yeah.
But...
They help a brother out.
Yeah, they do.
Nicely shoehorned in there.
Very nice. Ladies and gentlemen, just FYI behind the scenes information, we rewatched this whole serial last night, and holy freaking balls did I lose my shit when Rory made that joke. Anyway, totally worth
I
shooting.
laughed a little too much at my own joke.
So then they leave, like, he gets the food, totally doesn't give a shit about it, by the way. He goes, oh, thank you very much, my child. It should be my sibling, I guess. And then...
Yes. That's why they're calling him father. He's just confusing matters by calling him my child. Oh my god.
Wait, hang on, in monasteries,
he might not be a real monk.
Ah, bingo.
Yeah,
and they're just
know what a
undereducated. They don't know how to address monks. Like, he's just a man of the cloth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then they abscond, and he heads back up the cliff with some binoculars. And what does he spy? Kablamatron, Vikings approaching. Mm-hmm. The most, like, amazing sort of Shutterstock.com Vikings ever.
Yeah, and that was good. It brought back... Can I go into the anecdote of the Jorvik Viking Centre?
Yeah. Yes, go for it.
It's a wonderful little museum in Yorkshire, which has... You kind of go in and you get on this crazy time machine thing. And,
okay. Is it actually meant to be a time machine?
It's meant to be a time machine. I mean, It's essentially like a little, like, motorised train car thing. Okay. But you go around all these various little Viking dioramas, and they really go for realism, because several of the sets really, really stink of piss. But it's a wonderful... If you're ever in that part of the world, you should go there.
It sounds like a first date type of place.
Yes, definitely.
Honey, I've got a first date lined up for you. Smell you later. Okay. Oh, and he's mega chuffed to see Vikings approaching. He's like, at last!
Oh, it's all coming together.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it when a plan comes together.
Man! Puts a massive cigar between his teeth. Kablamatron cut to Vic's Vapor Rub and the perv arriving at the cottage, or the village, or whatever, i.e. the cottage, and led there now by 4 men, I've made a note of saying, even though there were only 3 men that actually captured them in the first place. Continuity, I think. Unless they picked up the body along the way.
I mean, this place is probably meant to be swarming with Saxons. I mean, we just don't actually see big crowds of them.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, that is true.
It's meant to be a village.
I guess so, yeah. Okay,
it's a community.
Right, sorry, I'm
no,
I'm being too harsh. I'm really sorry. Yeah. So now we're treated to some Saxon logic, because it is explained to us that they don't like strangers,
but they love travellers.
Yeah, including the travellers who are...
We don't like strangers, but we welcome travellers, so...
Like, wait, hang on. That makes no sense. Any stranger who arrives is bound to be a traveller of some description because he's travelled there.
Yeah, and any traveller who's not returning home is automatically a stranger.
A stranger, i.e., the fucking Saxon logic makes about as much sense as shit. Like, it's just dumb. Anyway, so because of this, the team of Saxon peasants, they're sort of split into 2 groups. We've got the dude, Robinson, the dude who looks like Robinson Crusoe, who's the other guy's, Walnut's, best friend. So Robinson basically wants to kill them, and Walnuts and his missus, Enid Blyton, they want to spare them. But Enid Blyton also kind of saves the day a little bit, because just as Robinson is about to, like, shiv the Steve Meister, Mr. Perv, Enid Blyton pops out and goes like, no, wait, are you looking for an old man? Like, he came around here before, he's dressed just like you dudes. And then it turns out all is well, don't worry about it. Explains he went off to the monastery, all is cool, now they're going to head off as well. She even gives them some bread and stuff.
Now, isn't this where we get the perv again being a complete dick to Vicky? Or was that slightly later?
Oh,
this is where...
Yeah, because Vicky's like...
No, I got a plan. You shut up. Yeah. Don't say a fucking word. And then they get to the door and she's like...
Oh, you're right. No. That's when they get to the monastery.
Oh, okay.
That's with the monk.
Sorry.
No. That's such a freaking good point. I don't think I made that point in my notes. First, we're going to get a similar situation where she tells him, don't do anything. Let this run its course. We're going to be fine. And the first thing he does is try to attack Robinson.
Yeah.
Fail, by the way, because he, like, just stands up. Robinson shows off his sword and Perv is just immediately emasculated.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they're fine now because they've got bread. And they head off to the monastery. Can I just add a tiny little bit of a tangent and say I'm so freaking pleased that they opted to cut out the teddy bear out of his character? Like,
that was just swept under the carpet. We just saw...
Thank God.
I think we last saw Vicky with it, actually. I think
that's true, in the beginning.
Yeah,
maybe she goes to sleep with it every night. Oh, so sweet. I hate her. Anyway, Kablamatron, Vikings appear on the shore. What do they look like? What would you say they look like?
These are the guys. We have one guy wearing the very elaborate helmet.
Yeah, he's like the chief.
And then we have his next, next in command with a haircut that looks like it's designed to emulate the helmet. It's like the exact same shape. as the helmet. Just much less effective.
He's got like a Tintin thing going on in the back.
Yeah, in the back rather than at the front where it should be. Yeah.
So that's Blondie. Then there's another guy, I term him Scully in my notes, because he seems to be the skeptical one.
Fair enough.
And then there's Gunnar the giant, right?
Yeah.
At least Scully and Blondie, they have some conversations now and then. Half of the time they have an accent, and Blondie especially, I think, has like a very believable Scandinavian accent. But only half of the time. The other half of the time, he sounds like he was educated in Cambridge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Kablamatron, meanwhile, Vicki and Steve, they arrive at the monastery. They talk to the monk, and the Steve Meister totally NLPs him.
Nice.
He totally does.
Yeah.
Because it's like they knock once. It's like, oh, have you seen someone? No, I've never seen him. Oh, I'll ask the other monks. And he goes, okay, fine, wait here. He pops back inside, and his clever plan is like when the monk pops back out, he goes, are you sure you'll remember the description? And we just saw this scene. Like, everyone knows there was no description, but he can still describe the doctor, so clearly he's seen him.
Yeah.
Like, obviously he's lying.
That was the same scene where
yes, sorry.
Being a massive chauvinist pig.
Yeah.
Silence, woman. Yeah. But I think she agreed to be silent and then immediately doesn't.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. But, like, give her some credit. Maybe she was about to say something clever.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Yeah.
You're a fucking perv. Like, you have no idea. He's clearly a perv. What do you think he does with that teddy bear? He used to anyway. That whole panda is just full of semen.
Oh, yeah. Vicky curls up to it at night, like, gives it a big hug and... Oh no.
Oh, my favourite dress.
Oh dear, what am I going to do? My only dress.
Okay, still gotta say, like, even though he's a total douchebag, the perv, he is kind of protective of Vicky.
Yeah.
Right? At least there is that element. Anyway, so now they know that the doc is inside the monastery. They decide, okay, let's come back here when it gets dark and sneak inside somehow and rescue the doctor. And in the meantime, we get the Viking, apparently, but not actually not, killing Enid Blyton.
Oh, yeah. Well, we thought she was dead at first.
Yeah,
she
totally.
was completely motionless, and then the next scene she's a little less dead.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think we had a little discussion of whether these being Vikings, they like raped her, and we thought
well, historically one would assume so, but
yeah,
it
but
being
it's a family-friendly show.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's
probably
sort
not.
Of,
Yeah, even though I would run out of fingers if I tried to count the amount of rapey characters on Doctor Who so far.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Anyway, so...
Starting with the Doctor.
She's attacked, then we sort of cut to or fade to her completely catatonic in bed. Her hombre, Walnut, turns up along with Robinson. Robinson assumes that it's the Travellers, i.e. Doc and Co., heads off, and I don't know about you, but at this point, I assumed that, okay, so now Robinson is going to go after the Doc, Steve Meister and Vicky, thinking that they attacked and possibly even killed Enid Blyton, right? But this potential plot twist, it lasts maybe 5 seconds, because he leaves the hut. 2 seconds later, Kablamatron, she snaps out of it, tells Walnut, no, it was Vikings.
Yeah.
And then Walnut tells Robinson, so like, problem solved. An entirely unnecessary setup for a subplot.
I had to fill up a little bit of time there. There's only so much stock footage you can use to pad the plot.
That's true. Well, you could have just turned this into a 3-episode arc.
Hey, yeah.
So
they
then...
just really wanted to use their episode titles, though.
Oh, that's true.
Got it.
They've got some good ones.
They do. I mean, we'll get to that later.
Then we have the fantastic fight scene, because the capable men scurry off into the forest to catch up with the Vikings and tell them what a Saxon's all about.
Yeah, and this is where what's his name?
Robinson
Crusoe gets axed.
Yeah, he gets a fucking axe to the torso.
Yeah.
Like, he is unwell.
Yeah. He needs some penicillin.
Only one thing can cure an axe wound to the chest. Get the man some penicillin.
Yeah.
Oh, and Gunnar the Giant is killed. Like, legitimately fucking murdered. So... And Blondie and Scully, they escape.
Yeah.
But Walnut and a very, very injured Robinson head off to the monastery. And then we get basically the end of the episode, right? Where Steve and Vic have now gotten into the monastery and they find the record player.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
See, this was the only cliffhanger that I didn't really remember.
And it's only part one of like a 2-part cliffhanger. They find the gramophone player, the record player.
Yeah.
And then they find the Doctor's cell. cell, assume that he's in the cell. They sneak into the cell because apparently it's not even locked. And so they get into the cell, and it turns out he's already escaped. There's just like fur or something, or wool or whatever it is, on under the blanket. So he's escaped. And that's the massive cliffhanger. Yeah, William Hartnell's on holiday.
Yes. Yeah. Was he actually in this episode? He wasn't in this episode at all, was he?
He wasn't he? Because
we didn't see him.
Oh no, you're right. We don't see him at all. He is in the cell. Yeah. That's like clearly AD afterwards.
Yeah.
Someone else is there just pissing in the monk's face. Do you think they found someone of equal height and age to
make it really convincing?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't believe that's the Doctor throwing that in his face.
No, that definitely seemed like a young man's urine.
Yeah. Young man's urine.
So, okay. Kablamatron, end of episode 2, start of episode 3. Before we move on to episode 3, though, what do you say we get a word from our sponsor?
Oh, I'd love to hear a word from our sponsor. Who's our sponsor, by the way?
Oh, just wait till you hear this ad.
Okay.
Who Back When, a Doctor Who podcast, is brought to you today by Who Back When, a Doctor Who podcast. Don't you just hate it when you really want to show your appreciation for Who Back When, but you're not sure how to? Well, you're in luck, buddy, because now doing just that is easier than ever. We've spread our galactic tentacles across the ether and popped a suction cup on a social networking wall near you. So here's what you do. If you haven't already, then hop on over to facebook.com/whobackwhen, all in one word, and give our show a like. Next up, if you're an iTunes aficionado, rock it off over yonder and subscribe, rate, and review our humble podcast. Oh, and hey, are you one of the 20 people who use Google+? Then follow us on Plus Who Back When. Last but not least, say hi on Twitter. I'm Matt Ponkin, and the Rawmeister may not be on Twitter at the moment, but if you ask politely, he just might rejoin. Okie dokie, let's get back to the show. Thanks for your support. Rock on. Episode 3, A Battle of Wits. Which I'm not entirely sure. I have a sneaking suspicion that we've already had an episode, as in part of a serial prior on Doctor Who, called A Battle of Wits.
It's a very generic title.
It is, yeah. Not as generic as the next one.
No, definitely not. They could have changed, they could have mixed it up, called it A Battle of Twits or something. Battle of Twats.
Okay, so a Battle of Wits starts off back in the cell. Vicki reckons there must be an escape, like some sort of passage out of there. And she lists all the potential disasters.
All 2 of them, yeah. What was it? There could be a siege or a fire or... yeah, that's all the potential disasters that could you possibly come up with.
Yeah, no, but that's all there are.
I can't think of any others.
No.
None.
Volcanoes, earthquakes.
Don't be ridiculous.
Al-Qaeda.
Yeah.
She reckons there might be a passage out of there. Steve Meister goes, don't be a ridiculous girl. They find a passage, they take it, no problem. And then the monk returns to find the cell empty, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and then, right, okay, yeah, so...
We're back to the Doctor now. Right?
Yeah, exactly, because while Vix and Steve Rooney are sort of Shawshanking their way through the tunnels,
Steve and Vicky crawled through what must have been 3 miles
of shit. While they do that, the Doctor...
If anything was going to ruin the romantic chemistry between these characters.
While they're Shawshanking out of the monastery, the Doctor, now back from the Maldives, is in the village speaking to Enid Blyton, and he learns that VS went to the monastery to look for him, and also the Vikings have arrived. And I gotta say, like, for someone who's covered in filth, this woman, by the way, like, she displays a formidable grasp of geography and politics.
Oh, yeah.
She really
Along
just
with
puts
her
everything nicely
English,
into context. Yeah.
Like her perfect modern English.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
She's got a nice overbite, though. It's actually quite endearing. So, the Doctor, meanwhile, he takes the Prime Directive, wipes his arse with it, tells her exactly what's about to happen in history, and then sets off to the monastery, right? He says, like, oh, wait, I have a feeling that maybe the monk is somehow connected to the Viking invasion. I need to see him again.
Yeah.
Something like that, right? So he heads off. And then Steve and Vix Vaporub, they've emerged from the Shawshank tunnel, and Steve now totally believes that they have a time machine, and he suspects that the monk has something to do with the gramophone and the wristwatch.
Was this also the point where they realised that the TARDIS is underwater? Or was
maybe.
I think that maybe earlier.
I think it's the end. Is it the end of this one? No, shit, it's not the end of this one, because the end of this one has the fantastic cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. Oh, that's probably the end of the last one.
No, it is. Is
it next up?
It's slightly further.
It's coming up?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, no problem. Can I interject a little soundbite?
Please do.
Okay, check this out, because Vicky, she has now adopted the trademark Doctor's Yeah, soundbite?
Oh my goodness, that's such a great great way of dealing with forgetting your lines.
Yeah. Here you go, Vicky. Sound bites.
Let's find him and all three do it together,
Yeah, I mean, apparently film stock was like gold dust back in the 60s.
So then, meanwhile, back in the monastery, the monk grabs some penicillin out of a first aid kit and feeds them to the dude who's, very injured. Penicillin being the internationally recognized cure for an axe to the chest.
Yeah. Were there even any bandages?
There were bandages in his first aid kit. Okay. I think basically penicillin, it's like chicken soup. It cures everything, including axe wounds.
But I think the guy asked him, "What's that?" It's like, "Oh, I'm just giving him some penicillin, magic."
Yeah. It's like some sort of herb.
Yes. Yeah, that was just some sort of herb. Yeah. Unguent.
Nice word.
Yes.
Very nice. What's his face? Walnuts. He basically goes, listen, my buddy Robinson, he needs to stay here in the monastery with you. And the monk goes, fuck that. Oh, well, I guess, alright, sure, fine. So he keeps him there. He even asks Robinson, hey, did you see some Vikings? Where were they? When do you expect the invasion fleet to arrive? Because apparently, Robinson fucking Crusoe has, the strategic know-how of General Schwarzkopf. How weird is that? Because Robinson goes, I would assume approximately 2 or 3 days. And the monk goes, just in time. Excellent. Everything is on time.
So these were really good binoculars if they were 2 or 3 days away and you could see them. Slower those longboats. I don't know. They just maybe seemed a little odd.
I think the boat
Or they
was
just hovering around the shore.
I think it was just a scout ship. So they sent one ship out which carried Blondie and Scully. Actually, Scully.
In fact, I think Enid Blyton mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because why does she know that? By the way,
she's really good at military strategy.
Everyone knows about Viking strategies. Yeah. Scully, by the way,
really.
I've referred to in my notes as Barnstable because he has a very, very faux Nordic accent that sounds like he's from Barnstable.
Okay.
No, I don't even really know what people from Barnstable sound like. Doesn't matter. Barnstable now pulls a Thal number 3 and sort of chickens out because he really wants to go back to the ship. Blondie, meanwhile, goes, you fucking piece of shit, threatens him with a rock to the face and goes, no, we're going to go to the monastery, and convinces him. And Barnstable, aka Scully, no longer skeptical, now reckons, okay, that is actually a pretty good idea, let's go to the monastery. So, we now know everyone's heading to one place.
Yeah.
Right? The Vikings are there, Doc is there, Doc is heading there, everyone is heading to the same place. And then we cut to the monk ticking boxes on his massive to-do list.
Okay. I love the to-do list.
I think maybe you should read out
maybe my favourite thing in the episode.
Editorialize.
So, this is the monk's strategy. 1. Arrival in Northumbria.
Check.
Also, I believe back then it was Northumberland, but,
Oh, there you go. Nice
the
historical
is a more modern kind of,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Position atomic cannon.
Check.
I don't know about you, I can't wait till we see this atomic cannon because
it's going to be massive.
Amazing. Oh my goodness.
This is going to be the biggest cannon I've ever
blowing
seen.
their budget for the series, surely. Number 3, sight Vikings.
Check.
4, light beacon fires.
That's the next one.
Number 5, very concise this, destroy Viking fleet. Number 6, Norman landing.
Who's Norman?
I don't know. Number 7, Battle of Hastings. And number 8, meet King Harold. Number 8 might be my favourite on the list.
Yeah, I know, because it's so
that's like
vague.
That's your ultimate objective, is to just meet King Harold.
It's like, I'm a huge fan, Harold.
Yeah.
And also, at what point during the Battle of Hastings do you reckon it merits a check on his list? He's like, it's happened, or it's happening, or someone's actually now called it the Battle of Hastings.
Yeah. But meet King Harold, and what tell him I've just basically screwed up your place in history, you will not be remembered anymore, because, I don't know. I suppose King Harold will still take...
But isn't that his plan? He wants King Harold to reign supreme.
Yes, yeah.
ASAP.
Yeah.
No stupid Vikings.
Yeah, I mean, we get to this a little later.
Yeah, okay, that's true.
Yeah, the monk's plan is bizarre.
Yeah.
Okay. That was the to-do list, just on a wonderfully and unnecessarily massive scroll, by the way.
Yeah, why is it on a scroll?
Yeah.
We're going to find out quite shortly that he has a moleskin in his place of residence. Spoiler alert, potential there. Still, he uses this ridiculous scroll.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. Anyway, so he's interrupted by a knock on the door. goes outside, flip-flops around a little bit, and then all of a sudden the Doc appears behind him, pushes a stick against his spine, and claims that it's a rifle.
Yeah.
Which is pretty badass.
He's very specific about what kind of rifle it is.
Yeah, he's like, it's a rifle, a 37 or something, directed directly at your spine. And he leads them back into the monastery, which is pretty badass. Oh, and this is now where we get Vicky and
this is
Captain
where
Dashing.
they discover that the TARDIS is no longer there, because, hey, the tide.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you land on a beach, apparently.
Yeah.
And Vicky freaks out with a bit of, oh no, it couldn't possibly be that.
Have you seen the moon?
Yeah. Oh.
Anyway, so the Steve Meister says not to mope around.
Yeah, he's less than concerned by this. I don't think he's grasped.
Yeah.
They're potentially marooned in 1066.
Well, that's fair enough, because he was marooned on a different planet before. He's probably like acclimatized. It's like Stockholm Syndrome all over him.
So that's perfect when we're getting into...
He's basically like the old dude who feeds crows in the Shawshank Redemption. Like, he doesn't want to be free.
They drop him back in the 60s and he just hangs himself.
The Steve Meister was here.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You can't take all this freedom.
So now they're about to head back to the monastery for Lord knows what reason. But before they do so, they come across the atomic cannon.
Oh my god, it was everything I hoped it would be. I was not disappointed in the slightest by the atomic cannon. I mean, it looked to me like a cannon. A very small cannon with a doodab on the back. It was great.
A doodab?
A doodab, yeah. Well, how would you describe it?
No, I think that's a pretty accurate description.
I mean, maybe we need a screenshot of this cannon, because
there's definitely going to be a screenshot of this.
You know, I couldn't, I don't think I completely took it all in. So,
what she said.
You know, I can't,
it was just too much to fit in one frame.
I have no words to describe the cannon.
It's so dry. I love it.
That's not what anyone said.
Anyway, so they see this atomic cannon, and the Steve Meister now deduces that it must be the monk because it's another anachronism.
Yeah.
But, sorry, hang on, isn't this a flaw? Because, like, according to his prior logic, every anachronism is just proof against it being time travel.
Well, you know, too many anachronisms clearly add up to...
Like, it almost seems as though they're in the future somewhere, and the Saxons are the anachronism.
Yeah. No, from his perspective, the more anachronisms there are, that proves that they are yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
I think this is sort of mirroring the Saxon logic in a way.
Maybe. I mean, we can blame this on Steve. Moving swiftly on.
Yeah, cut back to the monastery. There's a knock on the door, so the Doc now needs to affect a disguise, and he puts on some robes. How he put on the robes while the monk just stood around idly watching and waiting, I don't know.
That would have been a great scene. I'm quite sad that they cut that out. I mean, I know we had to squeeze in the stock footage, so I can understand not that.
Okay, I got a soundbite request here again.
Okay.
And I'm really sorry. I want to say this just a priori before we listen to the soundbite. This is because it's another linguistic stumble in the script, and it fucking pisses me off every single time someone says something that is just completely nonsensical. As in, has probably written it in the script. Soundbite?
Yeah.
Soundbite.
First you want to open the door, then you want the chance to reverse the position with the help of whoever it is outside. Secondly, you want to get me into a monk's habit so that whoever that is would recognize me as an imposter.
That's three things, Doc. First, then, secondly. That is three things.
I completely didn't spot that. Well,
God, that pissed me off.
Well done. A, 2, and D. Again, we've got to remember, the Doc is senile at this stage.
Probably.
You know?
Actually, we should maybe make up for that with a proper soundbite, because there is something he tells the monk which is just superb. Soundbite?
Soundbite.
And remember, no more monkery.
That was brilliant. Monkery. What is monkery? The hell is monkery? Monkery would be great. Monkery would be him actually being a monk. And
Yeah.
not...
You should actually go like, more monkery,
Yeah,
please.
more monkery.
Less time
less
lordery.
monkery.
He opens the door, and blammo, it's the Vikings. It's Blondie and Barnstable, aka Scully. And the monk, by which I mean now the real fake monk, not the fake monk, yeah, the doctor. So it's fake monk number 1. He disappears. And now the doctor has been taken prisoner by the Vikings. He's put back in his cell, and Blondie stands guard outside the cell. Not Thal number 3, the other dude, whatever his name is, Barnstable Scully. He is running around the monastery looking for the other monks, but is then promptly hit over the head with a 2x4 by the monk.
Another anachronism right there.
A little bit. 2x4. It also seems to me like the 2x4 itself and it being used to bludgeon someone, it's indicative of two different things. Number one, clearly this is a brand new prop on the BBC soundstage, because we are going to have a reiteration of someone being bludgeoned with a 2x4 very soon. And number two, this is like the ultimate get-out clause for Dennis Spooner, or whatever his name is, the Spoonmeister who wrote the script, right? Because it's like, how do I get out of this? Oh, wait, hang on, 2x4.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
The most ridiculous thing is everyone knows if you're going to bludgeon someone, you use a 4x2, not a 2x4.
Oh. That's just amateurish. And they even say that, I think they say anyway, that there's no key to the cell, which is why Blondie needs to stand guard. So, wait, he stands guard outside of a closed, not locked, mind you, a closed door to a cell, and then goes to sleep.
I see what could possibly go wrong.
Yeah. And weirdly, the doctor doesn't escape while his guard is asleep outside an unlocked door. He needs to lure him in, because, spoiler alert, that's what's about to happen, right? Yeah. Also, wouldn't it be easier if they both went looking for all the other monks? Like, why do they need to split up, put the doctor in a cell, and then have one of them go looking for the other monks? Because surely at this point, they must assume that the doctor is one of the other monks, right? Yeah. Yeah. So, makes no sense. Plus, they never even ask them. They never go, hey, doctor, where are the other monks?
No.
No. Fucking stupid Vikings.
But then we reached the great cliffhanger of this episode.
Not yet, because we're going to have another bludgeoning first, dude.
Oh, sorry.
As we cut to the morning, Blondie enters the cell, and surprise, surprise, is hit over the head with another fake plank, right? Because this is like moments after the fake plank has been invented. Yeah. Then Blammo, fake number 1, visits the chick and her husband, Enid Blyton and what's-his-face, Walnuts, and tells them, go and light fires. Yeah. Like, I promised some ship captain friend of mine to help him.
The Viking.
Yeah. Like, he comes up with the dumbest excuse. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, sure, we'll do that.
Do that?
Yeah, it's fine. That's not suspicious at all. The monk leaves, and then they, like, immediately, I think, start theorizing that I think maybe this is, like, there's something shifty going on, because we've seen Vikings, right? Kablamatron, Vicki, No Pants, and Crazy Steve, they find bludgeoned Blondie. Sorry, because there are a few, like, this is a little bit of a bullet point list of stuff before we get to the massive cliffhanger, because Vicki, No Pants, and Crazy Steve, they're now in the monastery, right? Yeah. They find Crazy Blondie bludgeoned in the doctor's cell. They don't find the doctor. However, we get a little cutscene of the monk returning as well, Hanna-Barbera style, revealing part of his plan to bludgeon Viking number 2, at which point the doctor arrives with a sword, like puts it to the monk's throat, goes like, fuck you, dude, you're gonna show me your TARDIS or whatever. And then we get the cliffhanger.
So, yeah, at this point, Steve and Vicky discover the sarcophagus and decide to enter it through the side, which seems slightly odd.
Yeah, because there's like a cable or something. There's a power cable running to it or from it.
I slightly missed that, because I was confused as to why they were even trying to get inside the sarcophagus anyway. I mean, were they planning to hide or something? Let's just get into this really confined space together, eh? Yeah. But let's try and go in through the top, through the side rather than the top, which obviously would lift off. But anyway, they go inside.
I think they just follow this cable.
It's a TARDIS.
It's a freaking TARDIS! This is so TARDIS. Insanely awesome.
A better TARDIS.
A better TARDIS that looks exactly like the old TARDIS.
It's slightly bigger, isn't it?
Is it?
Inside? Yeah. I mean,
maybe.
I might be wrong there.
No, that's very possible. That's very possible. The console, to me, looks exactly the same.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But you know what? Fuck it. Let's just put screenshots of both consoles next to each other on the website, and people can make up their minds for themselves.
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to remember, and I'm not sure.
That's totally...
For some reason, I thought it was.
Fret not. Okie dokie, so that's episode 3. Yeah. Done and dusted. We've got one episode left. Kablamatron, episode 4, called?
Brilliantly titled, Checkmate. I love that title. And so does apparently every other TV writer ever. Like every TV show has used this title at some point. Checkmate. Despite the fact there are no chess metaphors in this episode. Suddenly we're into the realm of chess metaphors. I feel you could have gone a bit... If you're going to have that theme, you should run with it. Like, you could have called part 1 Pawn to King 4 or something. Part 2 Knight to Bishop 3. Something like that.
Bishop takes king. That would totally have worked with the monk.
Oh my god, yes.
Right?
Yeah. Well, monk takes king. Yeah.
Monk to king 2.
Yes. Monk takes dot 1. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, anyway, so we start off episode 4 with the monk confessing that he's going to blow the Vikings out of the water. He's basically just explaining everything to the doctor.
Yeah.
And then we cut back into the monk's TARDIS, where Vic's Vaporob and Crazy Steve-O, they've found this fantastical collection.
They've found 2 historical artifacts. Although apparently the room is full of them.
Yeah, this is my note. My note is, like, Vicky says he's got something from every period and every place, but it's maybe 10 periods worth and it's all from Earth.
Yeah.
So clearly this is just the proper room from the historical episodes. But yeah, then Steve picks up what he reckons is a neutron bomb. Like, fucking hell, put it back down, Steve. And it very much resembles like an oversized butt plug. Bing bong, transpires the monk has been careless, and he's also left his moleskin lying around, so Vicky now reads from it. What does she find out? Like, he met Da Vinci?
Yeah, it showed him how to...
build flying machines or something? I think it was a flying machine. And also has made himself guilty of fraud. Like, he put money in the bank in 1968, and then travelled 200 years into the future, and earned money on compound interest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it seems dodgy.
I know.
Like, there are more efficient ways of doing this.
Yeah,
if
exactly.
You've got time travel. Sure, you can just rob a bank using a time machine easily.
Also, okay, people in podcast land are going to be able to correct me on this. I cannot really remember what year the Dalek invasion of Earth was a few episodes back, but was that more than 200 years after 1968? I cannot remember. I'm probably mistaken here, but if I'm not, then that's a massive plot hole.
Now, is this the same scene where Vicky's freaking out like, are our memories just going to change? Is that this scene?
I think that's when they're all captured later on, spoiler alert, and they're tied up. And that's actually pretty interesting where Steve... Actually, let's talk about that when we get to it. We'll talk about
that when we get to it.
Yeah, okay. We do now have a...
point to make. I want to make it.
Good. Okay, I look forward to it. But first, we get, I think, also worthy of a soundbite, because the Doctor is about to explain the golden rule of time travel.
Yeah.
Soundbite?
Soundbite.
You know as well as I do the golden rule about space and time traveling. Never, never interfere with the course of history.
Bada bing. Which is such utter bullshit.
Well, because he breaks it all the time?
Constantly. Constantly. I mean, so far we have learned, spoiler alert if you guys haven't seen the previous episodes or listened to our podcast, but like, he caused the fires of Rome. He has meddled with King Richard the Lionheart. He's like just been everywhere, fucking with the French Revolution. What the hell, man? Anyway, so, great, there's a golden rule and the Doc really lives by it. Fake monk reveals his entire plan, already said that, but then he also says the ancients could never have built Stonehenge were it not for his anti-gravity lift.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the best you could do. You have a construction tool that defies gravity and you assemble some rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
and
build
also,
the shard instead.
Yeah, and there seems to be no real reason for doing that anyway.
I mean, exactly.
And we don't even get into what the whole fucking point of Stonehenge was in the first place. Like,
exactly.
One of the greatest mysteries there are. And no, we just found out how he made them do it quicker.
Yeah. It's like, presumably, let's say presumably Stonehenge was there so that they could, like, I don't know, pray to their gods and whatnot, right? If he wants to make them progress, like, just evolve culturally more quickly, don't make it easier for them to pray to their gods. Show them a different side of the world.
Yeah.
Anyway, we blam cut to Blondie waking up, calling out for Barnstable, and as he staggers off, what's his face? The penicillin guy, Chicken Soup. He has now awoken, recognizes him as a Viking, and heads off to the village to warn his fellow Saxons, right?
Right.
And then next up, Blondie frees Barnstable, aka Scully.
Yeah.
No, wait, Scully. What's his name? Yeah, Scully. They're giving these people too many nicknames.
Well, they're not the most distinctive of characters.
That's true. Yeah. They're basically like the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern of Vikings.
Yeah. Or the Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young of Vikings.
Oh, I like that. Very nice. Anyway, they reckon that there must be hidden treasure in this monastery. I love these guys, by the way. They're hilarious. Absolute nimrods, but hilarious. And then they're reunited, the team, the Doc and Co, and the monk, I guess. They're reunited inside the monk's TARDIS, and we have this overlong dialogue about whether or not their own TARDIS has washed away. We learn that it's not so. But we also learn that it's a newer TARDIS.
Oh, yeah.
It's a Mark IV. I believe that's a Gillette blade.
Very good.
And it's equipped with, automatic rift control, which I believe, by the way, was also included in the time ring in the audiobook Human Resources.
Huh.
Yeah, I think so. JD will be able to corroborate that if I'm right. And then what? Oh yeah, we also find out, sure, they're both Time Lords, but the monk is from 50 years in the Doctor's future.
Yeah.
So he's like even more, quote-unquote, evolved, I guess. He's more futuristic even. Yeah.
He's evolved beyond morals.
Yeah. Because the Doctor's just brimming with morals himself. So then what happens? Vikings appear.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, wait, hang on. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, so the monk, he leaves the TARDIS. He, escapes while they're talking about tides and shit.
Yeah.
And when they all run out after him, the monk escapes right into the arms of Blondie and Barnstable and immediately declares his allegiance with them. Points at the troop and says, they are the real enemies. And apparently that's enough. That is all you need to convince bloodthirsty Vikings that you're totally cool. Always makes no sense. Oh, hi, we're about to cut off your head and defile your corpse, but since you say you're on our side, we'll just trust you right away, even though you hit us over the head with a fake plank. Right? What do they know? Their parents were related by blood. So, meanwhile, in the One Hut village, the plebs have decided that they don't trust the monk anymore, and Chicken Soup, he turns up and says there are Vikings hiding in the monastery, so ipso facto the monk must be a spy. And Kablamatron back to the prison cell, where now Steve-O, this is where I think you were going to make a point, Steve-O, Vic's Vapor Rub, and the Doc, they're all tied up, and we have this little chat about memories and history books and whatnot.
Yeah, I think what occurred to me is the monk's been doing this stuff for a while.
Yeah.
Have their memories already changed?
I guess so.
Do we not care about the other stuff he's done? We're going to stop him here.
Like Stonehenge. Stonehenge would have
correct anything else he's done.
I guess not.
Yeah.
No, that's a really good point, because he's already chatted with Da Vinci. He's already chatted with the Stonehenge dudes, the druids, and helped them build everything.
Yeah.
They're not fixing this.
No.
How hard they try, they will never be able to shit enough on the Prime Directive. Ugh. And we get a fantastic "he must be stopped" exclamation from the Doc.
Oh,
but
good.
Yeah, there is actually also another point to make, I think, about the whole history, remembering history and past events and future events and whatnot.
Yeah.
They are future versions, as in, they're not future versions, they are themselves further along in the timeline than Hastings, right? Battle of Hastings.
Yeah.
They remember everything, so clearly whatever they remember, that is what's going to have happened.
Yeah.
Is this sort of Back to the Future logic, where the photo can still show your picture even though you've not been born, and then slowly but surely it fades?
Yeah.
Maybe it's like that.
Weird sort of timeline gradually catching up with itself kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
No, not at all.
The stories don't really work without that kind of...
That's true.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah, you're right. It would take an instant.
Yeah.
And then it'd be done. Kablamatron, the monk, has now somehow convinced Blondie and Barnstable to carry all the anal probes, the butt plugs, up to the cliff for him.
Yeah.
Saying they're charms or something that will help their king. And as they leave the monastery, all the villagers, the Saxons, they arrive with pitchforks and sticks and clubs and shit and attack them. And they just drop the butt plugs. They're just left on the ground. Monk, Blondie and Barnstable head off into the forest, get split up, and the Vikings get totally murder death killed by all these Saxons who just turn up and Steven Seagal everyone. And the monk escapes, I think. Yeah, exactly. He escapes because he's going to come back later on. Spoiler alert. Oh, by the way, what happened to the other Vikings? Because there's a whole boatload of Vikings on the shore.
Thing and...
Oh, right. Yeah, no, that explains everything. Thanks.
Yeah.
So now, before the troop can wrap up episode 4, they need to stop the monk, which, by the way, they still freaking haven't. But it's okay because the Doc is about to write him a note. So then we have this mega long scene of the Doc nicking a part of the monk's TARDIS, MacGyvering a piece of string to some part of the console and then shimmying out of the TARDIS and pulling it out. Pretty rad.
Yeah.
Yay, nice one. And Yeah, leaves a letter on the altar or the sarcophagus or whatever, and then kablamo, cue stock footage of birds as they arrive on the beach moments before a Viking invasion. The TARDIS is there, safe and sound. That's pretty much it, right? Like, the monk returns to the TARDIS.
The monk returns to the TARDIS, but in that scene, he's sort of talking away to himself in, like, the least Machiavellian way you could possibly talk to himself. He's like, oh, well, I've had a long day. I should probably be getting back to wherever the hell I'm going now. What? Yeah. And finds his TARDIS is now tiny on the inside.
Yeah. Is it tinier than the sarcophagus, or is it exactly the size of the sarcophagus?
I think it's meant to be the same size of the sarcophagus, but it looked smaller.
It did, however, still look as though he could kind of crawl in there.
Yeah.
Like, he would totally be able to crawl in there, maneuver his way to some other place, like back to Gallifrey or something.
Yeah, but his fingers would now be too big to operate the controls.
Maybe he needs a dialing wand.
Maybe. That's exactly where my mind went.
I can imagine. By the way, where are the Saxons at this point? Are they too busy Wickermanning the Vikings? Like, the logical assumption here would be, oh, the monk has returned to his lair.
Yeah.
But they're just going to leave him. That's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it is. Anyway, he finds the letter, and the doctor says something like, oh, this is just to teach you a lesson. Maybe we'll come back one day and pick you up again when you've learned your lesson.
Which I'm really hoping will happen in a future episode.
Spoiler alert, the monk is going to return.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know in which capacity. I haven't seen the actual serial yet, but he is going to be back.
Okay.
Looking forward to that.
New Who or something. It was just going to be like random episode. Oh, I just remembered that monk I like that. He's probably learned his lesson by now. Set him free.
30 years later, massive beard, doing nothing but defecating and masturbating in this monastery. Playing with his tiny TARDIS like it's a dollhouse.
Yeah.
And by the way, even like the butt plugs, they're tiny, but they're atomic, so they can still like cause a lot of damage, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Presumably.
Wouldn't he be able to like still win the war? And also, he has knowledge of all these historical events. It's clearly not safe to leave him somewhere where he could... Like, if they ever return, like 30 years later, I would assume that they return to a world where the God King fake monk number 1 is ruler of Earth.
Yeah, this isn't really limiting it that much.
Not really.
Like, they've taken away his powers of time travel. And
Exactly.
So yeah, then we get the beautiful new ending.
Such a weird ending. Clearly this is new technology appropriated by the BBC. Like, oh wait, we can superimpose images of the cast on top of space.
Yeah.
I don't even remember. Do we get music while we see this?
Yeah, we get music.
Okay, we get music.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's just their faces. We've never seen this before.
Well, yeah.
Did you like it?
It was nice.
It was? Yeah, I guess so.
Charming.
Yeah. Beautiful. And that's pretty much it. Yeah. End credits. Doom. Legendary. And that's it.
Sweet.
The end of the Time Meddler.
Reviews.
Time for reviews. Do you want to take it away?
Okay, yeah. I mean, I haven't got a huge amount to say about this that I haven't already sort of said. I mean, I found it an enjoyable episode for the most part. It was perhaps a little overstuffed with various plot elements happening all along. I think maybe because there were just too many sort of Vikings and Saxons running around. It was sort of hard to keep track of everybody all at once. But on the whole, it was pretty enjoyable. I like the concept of the episode. I find any kind of like meddling around with time pretty interesting. I'm a bit of a loss as to what the monk's motivations and ultimate goals were. I mean, he seemed to want to essentially accelerate the course of human history and make a buck or two in the process. But quite why he was really wanting to do that, I have no idea. I mean, he has time travel. He could just make a nice life for himself without fucking human history. Yeah. Like, he was like, yeah, we could have, like, Shakespeare could put Hamlet on the TV. He's like, great. I mean, we can have Hamlet on the TV anyway. It probably would have not been Hamlet if he had the medium of TV at the time. I don't know. It just didn't make...
No, that's a good point.
Like, he just seemed to have not really thought through what he was doing. I had no idea why he was doing it. But it was enjoyable. I mean, there was a lot of interesting acting happening in the episode. the Doctor in particular seemed to forget most of his lines.
Yeah, there were a few...
There was a whole lot of... oh my... going on. It was great. Yes, I mean the main cast actually seemed to be the worst actors in this episode.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed them. I liked what they were.
So what would you give this as a score?
I'm going to give this a 3 because it's in the middle.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, there was nothing I hated in this. There wasn't a whole lot I really loved about it either. It was just nice and enjoyable.
Okay. Fair enough.
There was one thing I wanted to mention. Oh yeah, it was just that one little scene that I enjoyed in its sort of poor continuity, where Vicki was like, "It all looks so different in the day."
Oh yes,
you fucking arrived in the day. We're presumably sleeping at night. Most of what we saw happen during the day.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. That just stood out to me as a really hilarious,
dumb line,
pointless moment. That's all I have to say.
All right, 3.0.
Yeah.
Nice, I like it. Okie dokie, well, I agree with pretty much everything you've said. I think the main drawback of this serial is that there are just, like, the whole Viking subplot seems almost entirely unnecessary. It's there to sort of enable the monk, but too much time is spent with the Vikings to then ultimately just leave them alone.
Yeah.
So either make this a Viking story or make this a monk story and let that be it.
Yeah.
So it gets a little bit diluted in that sense. Still, I love the fact that there's another Time Lord. This is the first other Time Lord we encounter. I love that there's another TARDIS. I think that's freaking amazing.
That was really cool.
Yeah, that's very awesome.
Said, yeah.
Like, canonically, this is an important story.
Yeah.
And, yes, okay, so the acting predominantly is kind of rubbish. But then again, it normally is.
Yeah.
So that's fine. I thought the guy who played the monk, what's his name, Butterfield or Butterworth or whatever, he's really good.
Yeah, he was actually one of the better.
Yeah, absolutely. He was really good. And
I really believed him as a fake monk.
Yeah, he really pulled off. Like, I did not believe that he was a monk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what he was going for. So, yeah. He played a guy who's not very good at pretending to be a monk with a plan.
Very well. Yeah. So that would be sort of the major drawback and the major bonus of this episode. I love that there's that canonical value of now we have established there are other Time Lords. We've also established, I like the detail, just adding the piece of trivia that the monk is from 50 years beyond the Doctor's time.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool, because otherwise the Doctor is always the one who's the most advanced, but here's a guy who's from even further into the future. He has a TARDIS that's even more advanced. Very cool. Other little tidbits that I absolutely adore and kind of want to make love to are the fact that they just ham-fist fuck yous to Ian and Babs all across the first episode. You've been trying to get to Earth, we can never get you back to Earth, let's go to Earth. No problem.
Yeah.
Those guys were getting really old really quickly. There you go, guys. Enjoy your lives, you know. I like that, that's pretty cool. And I gotta say, Steve-O? People who have listened to the Who Back When review of The Chase will remember that I was not very fond of the Steve Meister.
Have your feelings for him changed?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, okay, fine. See, so now he's been... they've replaced the character of a guy who's totally bananas, who carries around his teddy bear. Thank God they cut that out. Like, who carries around a teddy bear is just this sort of Ben Gunn-esque character on some planet somewhere. They've turned him into this massive sexist who's very much an alpha male.
Yeah.
Like, he wants to take charge, and what we're kind of missing now without Babs and Ian was an alpha. Like, he was this dude in a cardi who was badass.
Yeah.
Like, he would get into fights and stuff, and he would take charge and have plans and come up with strategies, and I have a feeling the Steve Meister is probably going to be able to do that going forward. So I look forward to seeing more of the Steve Meister. And I also was very fond of his rapport with Vicki. Like, it almost justifies having Vicki on the show.
They were entertaining together.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
So those two should just get it on.
Obviously.
They should.
If that had actually just been a sarcophagus, that's what would have happened.
Yeah. So all in all, I think
I'm get any privacy in the TARDIS?
They don't have beds. They don't have beds, so I don't know. Yeah.
Is that Doctor ever going to fuck off?
But yeah, anyway, so all in all, I'm going to give this episode a 3.5.
Oh, more generous than me.
Slightly more generous. Confession, guys, I cannot remember what I've given previous classic episodes because it was so freaking long ago we recorded them and I haven't looked at my own scores for previous episodes. So 3.5 may seem either too generous or not generous enough compared to other ones. But now, sort of a fresh, well, a refresher of Classic Who, 3.5 for the Time Meddler.
Update your spreadsheets.
There's a spreadsheet on the website. Shall we go to listener reviews?
Let's
do it.
Listener reviews.
Okay, review number 1 comes from Gallifreyan Buccaneer. Dude Meister, do you want to start off?
Sure. Quite possibly the most giggles from the first Doctor in a single serial. For a Doctor that most people find a grump, I recommend this serial as, 1, it will ingrain the sound of Hartnell's giggles into your mind for an eternity. I agree. Completely eliminating any thought of him as a big old grump. And it's 2, it's one of, if not the best Hartnell serial.
Ooh, he goes on. The first renegade Time Lord, although we don't know the race name yet, played brilliantly by Butterworth. The first time we see another TARDIS. The Doc actually being rather heroic for a change and in such an upbeat manner. Seriously, what more do you need?
P.S. Pumpkin, take note, the monk will be important for you further down the line. Cryptic warning over.
Thank you very much for the warning, Gallifreyan Buccaneer. Thank you very much for your review. The awesome review. People who are not Gallifreyan Buccaneer, please do yourselves a massive favour and follow him on Twitter. He is at Alan R, that's R the letter, Trussler with 2 S's. Cheers, dude! Awesome. Next up, we're doing these in chronological order, by the way. Please don't think that this is Who Back When nepotism when we say that the next one is from JD.
Awesome.
Do you want to start off again?
Okay, so the Doctor and the irritating one land on, and then a bit of the email is unfortunately missing. Sorry about that.
JD, submit a complete review to whobackwhen.com, please.
We're going to assume land on Earth was where that was going. So, the good. Stephen Taylor has calmed down a bit, thankfully, and he'll be a reliable companion. And Peter Purvis continues to play Stephen Taylor in the audiobooks, even 40 years on from his debut.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. He is an old man these days.
Yeah, presumably.
So the start of the pseudo-historicals start here. A historical story which adds science fiction elements. The historicals will completely dry up post the Highlanders until the Black Orchid, and they are far more interesting to me than the pure historical stories.
He goes on. The Monk, the first ever reoccurring villain. Bing bong. He comes back in a few episodes. Spoilers.
Ooh.
Nice one.
The shock of the entry into the second TARDIS, and of course the ending with the removal of the dimensional stabilizer. It's the start of the mythology of the Doctor's race right here, and while it won't come to true fruition until the War Games, this is where it all begins.
Very true. Next up we have the bad. The Monk has his master plan on the equivalent of a whiteboard, even ticking items as he does them. And truly this plan culminates with meet King Harold. That's the entire plan?
That's his ultimate goal.
Yeah. Bing bong, go for it.
So Maureen O'Brien's irritation index hits the motherload of a 5.0. Yes, Maureen's, not Vicky's. She mispronounced relative dimension as relative dimensions.
Oh, that's right. We forgot to mention that.
We did, yeah.
Oh, shit.
Thus fucking up the TARDIS acronym for the next 39 years until Russell T Davies fixes it in Rose.
Yeah, really sorry we didn't bring that up. Let's pop a soundbite in right now. Soundbite.
You gave this ship a name just now. What was it?
TARDIS. TARDIS. It stands for time and relative dimensions in space.
There you go. Thank you very much for reminding us, JD. Overall, he says, all change. The last vestiges of anyone other than the Doctor being the main character was jettisoned at the end of the previous episode, and now we find out that there are other members of the Doctor's race out there. Still not called Time Lords, not yet, and shock, horror, the Doctor did not build the TARDIS, there are more of them. It's marked higher not because it's an amazing episode, which it really isn't, but between Peter Butterfield's acting and the sheer importance of the Monk, gives it extra points. 3.6 out of 5.
Fantastic.
Yeah, pretty close to my own score, by the way.
Yeah, he was slightly more generous than you.
Yeah, but he's got a bigger heart than I do. Thank you very much for your review, JD. People who are not JD, Jesus balls, why the hell are you not following him on Twitter yet? He is at Marius Kane, that is Kane with a K.
If I was on Twitter, I would be.
Yeah, he would be. Next up, we've got Davis of the Davis Principle fame. Do you want to start off?
Okay, before I start... This is the email, that's not before I start. Before I start, let me just say this message begins with before I start, just to clarify. So, before I start, let me just say that I enjoyed this serial, but not as much as The Chase or The Space Museum. Don't kill me, please. Anyway, let's begin. The serial starts out in 12th century England, and did they make the mistake of saying they were in a different century?
They did.
They
did.
Like 10th century or something.
I think so, yeah.
They got it wrong anyway. Where Vikings are about to attack. In the first episode, it almost seems like we're about to watch another historical. Then the Doctor...
Nice
that was a great moment.
Yeah.
Finds a phonograph and Stephen finds a watch. Anyways, the Doctor travels to a small town near a monastery where he meets the locals. They tell him about the monastery, which he then decides to explore. Here he learns that there is only one monk, and the singing came from a phonograph, and he's promptly captured.
Meanwhile, Stephen offers Vicky blackberries for breakfast.
Yum.
Then eats all of them.
I missed that.
Vicky gets none. Stephen, you pig. Seriously, you steal Ian's roll and Vicky's blackberries.
What I see you next Tuesday.
Yeah, nice one, Davis.
They decide to follow in the Doctor's footsteps and ask the monk if they've seen him or not. He says no, and Stephen pulls a Keys of Marinus on the monk. He has the monk recall the description of the Doctor, even though Stephen never described him. Then Vicky thinks the monk has tricked them into thinking they tricked him. What? Vicky, go get your brain checked. I'm concerned. They go back down to the TARDIS where the tide has come in. Cue the Davis principle.
Nice one, Davis. Calling out your own principle. They go back up, and then they get into the Doctor's cell. He's not there, Vikings begin to attack, Vicky and Stephen find a passageway, stuff happens. The Doctor takes the monk hostage, Stephen and Vicky find the monk's TARDIS, cue the Daleks, TARDIS. More stuff happens, and then the whole crew plus the monk are in the new TARDIS. The monk unveils his plan to screw with time, ties up everyone, they escape, the Doctor does timey-wimey stuff to make the monk's TARDIS bigger on the inside.
Stuff it says in here.
Oh, sorry. Timey-wifey. Oh man, I wish I had a timey-wifey. The Doctor does timey-wimey stuff to make the monk's TARDIS bigger on the inside. The end. I give the serial a 4.0 out of 5. It started out so slowly and wasn't incredibly interesting at first. Then around episode 3, it became awesome. The monk mystery was interesting. Finally, we get some super creepy glowing faces against stars. I marked up for that. Davis, Dude Meister, you still have a huge heart, man. What can I say? Great review. Fantastic review. I had completely not at all, I totally missed the connection between this and Keys of Marinus. That is a freaking brilliant observation. He does the exact same thing there. Very, very nice. Or they do the exact same thing there. Very, very good. Dude Meisters and Dudettes, if you're not following Davis on Twitter, what the shit, people, follow him. He is at shrub_the, all in one word. Next up, we have the master of super long reviews here with what he has said is the Time Meddler in 500 words or less.
Have we done a word count on this?
We haven't. People, you know who it is. It's Kyle Rath. Hello, Kyle. Hope you're doing well. Shall I start this one off?
Go for it.
Metal. So, Doctor Who, Season 2, Episode 9, the Time Meddler review in 500 words or less. Having sent Ian and Barbara on their way home, the Doctor and Vicky discover Stephen, delirious but alive, who has hitched a ride from Mechanus. 10 points to Ponkin. Thanks, dude. The TARDIS materializes on a beach in Northumbria, and after splitting off along different paths, the Doctor, Vicky and Stephen find themselves embroiled in the lives of a small village of Saxons, and a somewhat alcoholic and inept Viking scout party, all the while unravelling the mysterious machinations of the meddling monk.
So from start to finish, Dennis Spooner's wonderfully crafted story, coupled with steady direction by Douglas Camfield, is tight and engaging.
That's what she said.
Each episode is a new and enjoyable experience. There seemed to be very little filler, and even the slightly sillier bits, the Monk's Diary of Dirty Deeds, obvious checklist is obvious, bad fight choreography, didn't really detract from the general flow of the story. From tip to tails, I was hooked.
The development of the Doctor, specifically, is epic. Hartnell's performance is very much a step forward in the evolution of the character. There is a renewed strength and sharper mind at work in the Doctor of the serial. It's like we finally see, in my opinion, the actual beginning of the Doctor as an iconic, resourceful, brilliant hero. He utilizes his intellect and cunning to outsmart the Doc, and stays just on the periphery of history, allowing it to take its own course. And miraculously, while adjusting to the headstrong and somewhat obtuse character of Stephen, I had a hard time finding any fault with Vicky. Yeah, well observed. I totally agree with you.
The big win here is Peter Butterworth. The monk is the first member of the Doctor's race, so far unnamed, we've met aside from Susan. What a character. Out of all of Who, the monk remains one of the most intriguing and interesting counterpoint characters to the Doctor. We meet him again, spoilers, but out of all the Time Lords, the monk is sorely underused.
He goes on, I need to point out the short-lived yet palpable pre- and post-tension of the blatant rape of Edith.
Oh, vindicated, I knew it.
Yes, there you go. Her from an unearthly child. Very well observed. I had not noticed that.
Oh, there we go.
Very well observed. It was staggering to watch. I can't remember seeing something quite so raw in a show of the period before. That's true.
Yeah.
That is freaking true. Ugh.
He goes on to say, the serial is the first of its kind to blend two elements of actual history and science fiction without distorting either. The monk plans to harness his knowledge of history and subtly twist it into his own ideal purpose, is not inherently evil, which makes the scenes between the Doctor and the monk monk all the more intriguing.
The Time Meddler is by far one of my top 10 Who serials of all time, if not top 5. It is creative, imaginative, and moves with an easy grace from opening shot to closing sequence. It earns a very special 4.7, taking away only for the weakest subplot between the villagers and invading Vikings. Wow, 4.7. You know what's happening here? I'm starting to regret my score.
Oh, wow.
Oh, crap. Well, I can't change it now.
Well, my score is still the lowest so far, so you're in good company.
True. Kyle, a spiffing review. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, good observations.
Yeah, very good observations. Kyle, thank you so much for your review. People who are not Kyle, follow him on Twitter. He is at Sinister Super Spy. That's super without any vowels. We got 2 more. First off, we have one review from Steven. Hello, Steven. How you doing?
Hello. Do I have to do a different voice now if I'm pretending to be Steven? No, I'm not going to. Hello. I got into the podcast recently and have been enjoying your reviews of classic Doctor Who. Started around the Dalek invasion of Earth and have listened on and off since.
Thanks, man.
Okay, you're a dick. Wow. Way to make me read the whole thing.
No,
I'm not sure if this is the correct way to go about it, but I wanted to contribute a review for the Time Meddler.
It is totally the right way, dude.
I've just gotten it from Netflix, and at the time you released The Chase and thought, since I had it handy, I'd watch and review. So here are my thoughts.
Thanks, man. No, I'm kidding. Okay, it's fine. I'll read the next one. In my opinion, one of the weaknesses of a lot of the older Doctor Who stories, at least compared to modern entertainment in general and modern Doctor Who in particular, is pacing. Because the stories are aired over usually 4 to 6 weekly serials, the pacing is generally much slower. As a result, some serials can be harder to get through than others in the middle sections.
Go on.
I shall. That said, the Time Meddler is better than most about this. While some scenes may drag on a tiny bit, nearly every scene feels like it contributes to the story as a whole and lacks some of the padding seen in some serials such as the extended haunted house sequence in The Chase. Jesus balls, I could not agree more.
The Doctor is in good form, twice escaping capture on his own, in one case before Steve and Vicki arrive to rescue him, and stopping the monks meddling in a particularly amusing fashion.
Very nice.
Despite how past Who back when reviews regard her, I don't have a particular issue with Vicki. I haven't seen many serials with her, although it did feel odd having her to be the experienced companion next to the initially sceptical Stephen. I wonder how it must have been for viewers in the 60s, watching this entirely new pair of time travels now that all 3 original companions are gone.
Yeah, that's true. He goes on, the monk was probably the best part for me. I got a kick out of the anachronism of watching him use an electric toaster and stove to make him and the Doctor breakfast. Also, his growing frustration as he kept getting visitors, it's as if a man can't call a monastery his own anymore, was good for a chuckle too. It was also interesting to see the 2 Time Lords interact before we even had the concept of Time Lords in the story. All that said is that they're from the same place.
So he continues, I'm not entirely certain what to call it for a score. The pacing was slow in some areas, which I tend to find normal for the older serials. There were some issues with the Viking characters. They seemed especially dim. They were told to go scout carefully and then run up and attack the first person they find, causing them no end of trouble. And unless I missed something, we never saw anything of the ship that dropped them off and they were supposed to be reporting to after they got left.
Exactly. He concludes, at first, I wasn't going to mess around with the decimals and call it a solid 4 out of 5. On second thought, I'm going to give it a 4.5. It was a solid story, no glaring flaws that I could see, but then I tend to be forgiving unless the flaws are very glaring. I'm sure there are good and bad points I miss, but generally, unless they interrupt my ability to actually watch the story at the time, I'm not prone to worrying about them. 4.5, man. Nice one.
Increasingly generous.
Yeah, very much so. Stephen, that is an awesome review. Thank you so much. People who are not Stephen, get on the case. Follow this man on Twitter. He is at sgamer82.
Sweet.
That's 82 the numbers. And we have one final review. Next one is from Gina Guerrero. Hey Gina, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Her review begins. The Time Meddler is our first pseudo-historical. I found it fun and engaging with the Doctor running into another Time Lord, rapey Vikings, and the addition of a new companion, Stephen. This being our first story without Ian and Barbara, we are left with annoying and useless Vicki. The Doctor, so desperate for company, wants to make sure she does not want to leave him. Doctor, you can do better. Then Stephen stumbles out, teddy bear in hand. I hope this is the last of the stuffed animals' appearances. So far my initial reactions to Stephen. He's no Ian, less sciencey and not the greatest fighter. However, I enjoyed Stephen and Vicky's pairing during most of the story. Although Stephen doesn't listen to Vicki at the beginning, and why would anyone, somewhere amongst the bickering they manage to develop a reasonably balanced relationship. The part where they both say, follow me, and Stephen, though grumbling, caves in and follows Vicki.
Yeah, nice one. Very nice. She goes on, we meet the monk, a fellow time traveller who tampers with time, meddling with history in an attempt to improve the future from his own perspective. The monk is able to control both the landings of his TARDIS and its camouflage units, now called chameleon circuits, which the Doctor hasn't been able to do. What I enjoyed most about this story was the interplay between Hartnell and Peter Butterworth's monk. The monk happily travels through time, changing things as he goes to try and improve things. We find he's already changed history as we know it anyway by helping in the construction of Stonehenge using advanced anti-gravity technology. Then we have the weaker subplot of the invading Vikings, who are swilling mead, fighting Saxons, and apparently rape Edith, who you may recognize as Cave Woman Her from An Unearthly Child. Yeah, we know that already. It wouldn't be Doctor Who without some implied rapiness.
So, some stray observations. Does the Doctor just keep hundreds of different capes in the wardrobe? Because Stephen looked like Luke Skywalker in Return of the Jedi, and Vicki looked like a hobbit.
Nice.
The Doctor, noticing the record scratching, his escape from the cell. By the way, why do monastery have cells?
I didn't even think about that.
And he's threatening the monk with a stick. Brilliant. And I freaking love the Doctor's line, no more monkery.
Yeah.
Oh, so did we. And isn't the cliffhanger for episode 3 when a shocked Vicki and Stephen discover that the monk's got a TARDIS still jaw-dropping? Can't imagine how the audience in 1965 reacted to that.
Yeah.
Favourite flub of the episode? I'm not a mountain goat. I would prefer walking too any day.
And I hate climbing.
And I hate climbing. The monk's checklist written on a whiteboard in marker, where his plan is broken down step by step. Nice touch.
Yeah, Gina concludes, overall, it was a good story with at least a few memorable characters and some interesting backstory on the Doctor, and where his stance on non-interference stems from. Stephen and Vicki make a good duo, and I can't wait to see the monk again in the Daleks' master plan. My rating is a 3.2. Nice one.
Excellent.
Thank God we're not...
Second lowest rating up in mine, I believe.
Gina, fantastic review as always. Holy shit, we just had solid, massively fantastic reviews this time.
That was a lot.
Actually, we all usually do. Gina, you are tremendous, and people who are not you need to follow you on Twitter if they're not already, which, let's face it, they probably are, but if they're not, they should be. And they can do so by going to Twitter and checking out at Gina Guerrero 1. That's 1 the number. Dude, my son, this was fantabulous. We just did our first classic Who review together.
Yeah. It's been a long journey.
Yeah, maybe this ended up being a slightly longer episode than we anticipated, but holy Jesus balls, this was fun.
Yeah, imagine the stuff that we cut out from this. If we left the stuff we left in, the stuff we cut out must be pure gold.
So, ladies and gentlemen, not entirely sure which episode we're going to be dropping the next time. If it's a new Who review, it's going to be The Unquiet Dead. If it's a classic one, we're going to be jumping into bonus territory and we're going to be doing the first Peter Cushing movie, are we not?
Oh my God.
That's going to be freaking intense. So be sure to prep for that by watching not only the Peter Cushing movie, but also episode 2 of, serial number 2 with Hartnell, The Daleks, and also listening to our podcast review of that, because it's going to blow your ass.
And if you don't prep, we will know. So.
Yeah. We're watching you. And also, if you're checking out the next audiobook review, it's going to be The Zygon Who Fell to Earth, which I'm doing with JD. Check that out. In the meantime, please do like us on Facebook. That's facebook.com/whobackwhen. Subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes. If you do, we're going to fly to wherever you are and give you a hug. Follow us on Twitter. Well, follow me on Twitter anyway, because you're not on Twitter.
For now, I'm not on Twitter.
For now.
But
But follow me on Twitter. I'm at Ponkin. You know how to spell that. And that's about it. Shamalama ding dong. Be rad and excellent to each other.
Goodbye.
Rock on. Who back when?